Welcome to Top Guns. I'm Puja Bothra, Associate Editor, ETHRWorld. And joining me today, Rajkamal Vempati, Group Head HR, Axis Bank. And James Thomas, Vice President and Head SAP SuccessFactors Indian Subcontinent. Let us explore how AI-driven talent decisions and workforce intelligence feeds into business planning and how HR, enabled by HR tech, is transforming the organization. Welcome to Top Guns, HR that moves the business. Pleasure to host both of you. Rajkamal, let me start by asking you, banks today are getting stretched in all directions, digitizing at pace, competition with fintech, and of course, the constant regulatory pressure. What does talent transformation mean to you in the middle of all this?
I don't see ourselves in a different position except for regulations. Most organizations are actually working on twin speed, trying to cope up not only with transformation of technology, digital, etc., trying to become AI native in this world where obviously we are seeing the kind of possibilities that exist while retaining the BAU, which is business as usual imperatives, whether it's growth, whether it's managing operations. So in a sense, transformation has always been there, and we've been talking about a volatile world. The speed of change has just changed. Talent transformation is super, super critical. I think in the last 20 years, the shift I've seen is earlier, we would say talent transformation was someone's job. A department would be set up and they would try to evangelize it. The big shift that I find is, especially now, AI and being AI native is every leader's job. It's no longer just a job that is given to, say, chief AI officer or a chief HR officer or, maybe just a CEO managing it. It has downstream impact in terms of how people will respond to this change and on our HR processes. But I think the big thing that's happened is some of the beliefs and realities have changed. People definitely have lower attention spans. Given the speed of change, you've got to be able to impact it at scale. Personalization is here to stay. So you've got to be able to impact the change at the nth degree. And we've seen the difference. Learning, where you personalize, has 20% higher impact in terms of outcomes versus carpet bombing. And we are talking about giving bite-sized content. And in fact, training per se has changed. People fed on social media content, bite-size, are asking for the content also bite-size. So learning has changed immensely. The last part is, with this world, what is happening is you can be a problem solver, whether you are a frontline, a manager, a middle manager, or a leader. All of us are required to do problem solving at scale and being fluent in multiple skills, right? Including AI, including digital, including technology. That fluency is what is necessitating the biggest change. So it is, I would say, change is not a spectator sport that you will do on the sidelines. You've got to be on the field, especially as leaders. We've got to demonstrate. And in all of this, the foundation will be the culture. What's the culture that you want to nurture and be a custodian for as you're leading this change? Super critical. We're talking about a world where agents will coexist with us. I don't know. It is a reality, but human beings have to be nurtured and fostered for what they bring in, which is creativity, imagination, curiosity, and making things happen. Those will be enduring.
James, every CHRO talks about talent transformation. Where do you see them struggle when it comes to strategy and execution?
Yeah, so I think Rajkamal put it very nicely in terms of while you want to get AI native, the pace, personalization, and problem solving aspect of what goes on in real time. To me, the biggest challenge when in translating strategy to execution is leadership and governance. And she, I think, also alluded to that, saying leaders need to be in the field, right? So how real are you to the context? From an observability perspective, from a traceability perspective, from a measurability perspective on how you're impacting talent. To me, that is where rubber meets the road. Technology is an enabler, and I think this human in the loop to driving this AI native disruption that I don't think any organization or any industry even has it's not just an IT phenomenon, right? Every industry is getting disrupted. So there is no choice possibly to that technology disruption. But how do we then really get into an execution mode with human in the loop, where some of the basic aspects of critical thinking, empathy, trust, none of this is going to go away in how technology is going to be consumed into an organization's environment. And that, I think, today CHROs are really grappling with. The digital employee and the human employee, where the trade-offs are and how do you really balance for a wholesome culture and experience is where I think leadership needs to be really front and center to that execution.
Every CHRO can buy technology, but you cannot buy is organizational readiness. How do you build that?
See, we used to be a believer in supply side. We'll create, you put the supply side stuff of it and it'll create demand. Actually, AI has appended it. It's not about putting the technology out there and you will learn it. If you learn it, then the power of compounding comes to bear, and the tools would be there. And I'm sure the organizational readiness really comes with intent, and leadership intent, strong leadership intent. Gone are the days where I can say, okay, team, please do something on AI, I'll review it. This is not that time. We also need to get away from our mindset saying it's an automation game. It's not an automation game. It is coexisting and thinking with imagination what the possibilities are. Did you ever think, today, a couple of us were discussing, did you ever think that, if you're doing, as a parent, if you're teaching your kid, the question papers can be set according to the difficulty and AI is there to help you. AI can also help you make your travel holidays and itinerary within the budget, etc. So all of that is there in your personal space. Unfortunately, what happens in organizational space, and I alluded to it earlier, that problem solving, we will say, okay, personal space, where we are problem solving and figuring out answers and using it and working and then trying to be a creator and a builder. In organizational space, we would expect somebody else to solve the problem. You can't lob the ball to others in the organizational space. So the readiness will not just come by having AI tools. There's a token cost and all of that we'll talk about later, but talent transformation will not happen just with getting certain tools. You've got to be able to work with the tools to figure out what's the workflow. Think horizontally. What's the workflow you want? What is the experience you want? What's the end game you want? And how do you look at even HR services in HR lifecycle management? Organizations, if you were to kind of think about organizations are an amalgam of workflows being managed by people, then the answer is very different. Rather than saying organizations are holders of people in various departments managing workflows, because then you will think vertical first. And I would say the biggest transformation that is required is thinking customer and thinking, let's say, in HR space, it's employee. Secondary customer is your HR administrator, HR. So how do you look at the workflow and how do you kind of give seamless, silent experience to the customer, because that's what they're experiencing otherwise. So I would say it's a leadership issue in terms of creating the readiness, being part of the problem, and I'm again repeating, being part of the problem, and also thinking about our roles very differently, reframing our roles in the entire context of transformation, and being curious, being zealously curious about what the possibilities are, and driving those outcomes. That's how transformation will happen.
Yeah, very interesting. And I totally agree that problem solving is one skill every employee must have. You should not think that that department is going to solve all your tech problems and this group of people are going to solve that problem. I don't need to do it, but I guess. James, what I'd like to ask you is that when technology is getting implemented, how do you ensure it is just not a new system on top of old behaviors? How do you actually drive the change to the technology?
Yeah, very excellent point. And one of the biggest challenges as technology providers we face is precisely that, right? When we engage in conversations, the leadership is there to have these conversations to tell us, yeah, all these strategic dimensions are wonderful. But when really the project starts, it moves to the operational levels to execute. And what do? They are used to a certain way of doing things, and they want all that automated, better, faster. So there is a serious disconnect that we encounter at times between leadership from the strategy and the vision to how technology should be consumed, to the real rolling up the sleeve and how that gets really deployed. And that is a gap that we are trying to bridge in the way the governance and how you connect the dots, right? There is also a business context to how an organization is and how they need to evolve. I think Raj referred to as saying different employee groups, different business units, and organization itself could be in evolving stages of maturity across processes or across how they have absorbed technology, right? Now, that context is super critical for an organization and the leadership to understand. To me, today, execution on technology is more a change management than anything else. Unless you have a change mindset geared to how this is going to be beneficial for us, you can spend tons of money, you can resource it with so many hours, but your outcomes will be suboptimal to what you originally set out to do. So there needs to be a constant calibration or check, you can call it pit stops, on are we moving, because technology is disrupting itself, processes are disrupting itself. So you can't say, the gone are the days of 12-month, 18-month, 24-month, 36-month project cycle times. You need to be here and now on how, and shrink the cycle velocities or cycle times to what you want to see as outcomes. So even from a technology provider, we are completely shifting away from what used to be on-premise to what was subscription to what was consumption to possibly a more outcome-driven execution on technology of what really it will mean for a Raj as a CHRO for Axis or for any organization across industries for that matter, in how technology will materially help them on the key drivers that they are looking for to shift the organization. So that's the shift between strategy and execution, and leadership has to be in the middle of it. I mean, with the disruption that's happening, it's not that leaders have all the answers, which is quite natural. Yeah. But if you are not in the middle of it and take a more ownership-driven approach of, yes, I got to solve for it for my people, you are just some distance away from the reality of the mess that you're creating for your own people.
No, I totally agree. You know, outcome-oriented metrics are what really counts. And today, HR significantly is moving from people practices to actually playing a business partner role. How are you enabling that in Axis Bank?
Big question. I think, you know, if you're with business, you know, fundamentally, there are two roles that you can play. One is deliverer of people practices, right? So there is an employee life cycle management delivery that you need to do. But as part of that, all of us first have to understand, why do you exist? If you're there to help the bank or the organization realize its own goals through people, then the role becomes a little different. In a sense, then you become the chief productivity officers, right? You also become the culture custodians. You also are there to figure out, you know, what kind of people and what kind of roles will enable. You're also there to think about the org structure. So there are many facets to the role that you're part of. You're thinking of capabilities. That's your role. Along with, and nothing happens in silo. It is because you're doing it for the organization, for their people, it has to be in conjunction. So deep partnering. We've pivoted the role a lot. And again, technology has made us do that. And I can talk about a simple example. Earlier, HR partner was somebody who would ensure that you will get people into the roles by whichever way, let's say external networks, right? That talent acquisition role. We've changed the business partner role to talent manager. And how did we do that? We launched this entire thriving internal talent marketplace because the belief is it's easier for people to look externally than internally for any role. Yeah. So basis the skills, you apply, every role is first of all available on this platform called Thrive. So you apply to this role, you will know what is your readiness for this role in terms of skill match. For the recruiting partner as well, or the recruiting business also, they know it. So through this, what we've done is, and I'll give you an example, a person, she said, I have a list of, and somebody who has been with us for many, many decades. And she said, I have a list of, every time I meet a person, I'm saying, what is the role that the person can do? So in a sense, she is being moved from a reactive HR to an anticipatory HR. She's looking at people whenever she meets. She's in touch with people a lot more, and she is giving fuel to their dreams through careers. The conversation has really changed. Through that process, now they're discussing productivity, spans, etc. And one of the things I think in transformation that we need to realize is organizations going to get flatter. If that's happening, HR has a pivotal role to ensure the transformation, because for us, after every appraisal cycle, people come with mithai dabba saying that my promotion ho gaya. Promotion is such a reality or a social prestige issue in India. And promotion is not now no longer about, just artificial grades. It has to be meaningful change in composition. If organizations going to get flatter, it means even this mindset shift that I have to be a builder. I can't have army of people around me. Huge shift, huge change. And productivity spans everything. Org design spans this entire talent marketplace, getting people with the right skills. And technology is able to ensure that we are, we are able to do a lot more, not only with lesser resources, but with greater intelligence and insights. Yeah. So I would say in that construct, though you've not asked, I think the HR per se will also change. HR transformation will also happen, necessitate the talent transformation. And to what James said, HR also needs to be somebody, and people need to have an understanding of data, and outcomes, workflows, and also be like the anthropologists to understand the stories, the culture, etc. So they have to be deeply embedded in the organizational context. And understanding this entire design of workflows, work with AI to maybe create your agents, but deep sense of understanding of working with data, deciding with data and insights would be super critical.
Yeah. So much to ask from HR, from being an anthropologist to being a data scientist to being an empathy leader and whatnot.
Yes.
James, from where you sit, what do you think is that one capability that gives CHROs a leverage to play a bigger role in business?
I think Raj just said it. How real can you be to the connected, supported, empowered employee? Right? She talked of org structures getting disrupted, getting flatter. So there is, with so much of disruptions that are happening across the organization, I think HR function itself is getting disrupted, right? You are seeing, though in trickles, some organizations, smaller in size, maybe even larger organizations saying have cleaned up the entire HR function, right? So it's quite fascinating to see why a CEO suddenly is coming about, a board is coming about and saying that, right? So I think at the core of it, what a CHRO, I don't think the CHRO function or HR function is going away so long as humans exist, right?
Yeah.
So there is always value, and the only element that still exists with unlimited potential is the human being. And so yeah, it's every leader's business to see how we harness that potential. But I think there has to be a custodian who looks at it from an overall orchestration perspective is my view. And to that, CHRO's technology for us, for example, and some of the aspects that Raj said, right? The hard data, which is what a core HR platform or technology generally thrived on to provide CHROs or HR leaders or HR community data points, is also getting disrupted in technology, having to take a 360-degree view on the employee. So the softer aspects of the employee, the purpose, the aspirations, the preferences, right? These are all maybe qualitative elements to an employee in the way, like the example that Raj said, one of our senior leaders, when she is looking at the employee, she is looking at where do I grow this person, right? It's a very fundamental shift. Now, is that leader equipped with data relevant to that thought process, which is a 360-degree view of that employee standing in front of her, which is where technology is shifting. So we have something called how do you drive hence talent intelligence from that perspective? How do you really radiate it to the talent life cycle? How do you move it then to the experience and indigent layers on how the entire orchestration happens for a senior leader who's the custodian of the culture and the experience for the employees? That's where I think we are making a fundamental shift in making it more contextual and real for the CHRO, the way technology serves them.
Yeah, I think that is augmented intelligence. Like your HR tech is going to give some data about the person, and if a human being is actually using one's mind and judgment to scan, then that's what augmented intelligence is. So, Raj, the traditional HR playbook, even for banks, would have gone through a major disruption, major change. What is that one decision you took for your people in last 1 year that would have gone completely wrong had you looked it through the lens of a traditional HR playbook?
We do so many experiments. There are many things that go wrong, not just because we are doing traditionally. I think we've fundamentally pivoted. Let me think about what are the decisions that we've taken in the last 1 year. We've taken a big decision to do the shift of personalizing learning across some 57 vectors for one individual. So we have 1,000 roles, let's say 1,200 roles. Personalizing means a lot more challenge in terms of content. We had to create assets overall. So we did 57 vectors and went the whole hog, and then we realized, we don't need 57 vectors because maybe some of them are not discriminating enough. So reducing that. But has it yielded impact? It has. The biggest shift that we've done is change the cycle of content creation. Biggest shift is don't look at classroom where a bite-sized content can work through. That was a big shift. It took a while, but that's been embraced. In fact, it's so much so the new coming employee, they want this kind of platform, and they said, we've never seen this, this kind of content, because it's a reel-based content that people are looking at. Big shift is, James Bond will not like it, developing our own product using AI. Traditional HR, that talent marketplace I talked about, we've developed it in-house with just 2-3 people on the HR side who developed it using the code available with technology team, very, very small team, developed and deployed in 2 months. What if I would have thought traditionally would have taken 18 months? So I think my big takeaway, sitting in March is different from where I'm sitting now in May, right? In 3 months, I've changed my views in terms of the new world or the world right now. Performance is going to compound at a different rate. People who adopt technology will be 5 to 6x smarter, better than the average. So it is a question of how fast are you embracing, adopting, leading to not leading, because the longer you wait, the person out there is compounding at a faster clip than you are. So speed has a different connotation. Earlier, I would say 2 months, I was very proud of it. Then I thought maybe it's not. And yesterday, my team was coming and said, okay, we'll develop it in 2 weeks. It's changed to days.
Wow.
It puts immense pressure. It puts immense pressure on us so that we are solving the right problems, not rubbish problems. Otherwise, there'll be so much of slop around, right?
Yeah.
Working with partners to have the right architecture. A third big shift, and I think I am a lot more, and I'll answer the previous question as well. One skill, along with empathy, data, and all of that, is the governance role.
Yeah.
Understanding and having guardrails around what we will do and not rules. A lot. HR is also about policy, standards, setup, and governance. I think that is one shift that I am seeing.
Yeah. The AI platform for HR sounds super exciting. James, the decisions CHROs need to make today really have no precedence because things are moving so fast. How does a platform like SAP SuccessFactors help the community to make decisions?
So I'm quite delighted that Raj said she's experimenting with build. Yeah. Now, it's a very pertinent or a very important statement. And players like us, that's exactly the shift that we are doing. From a world of buy, which is essentially saying I have a ready tool, module, product available I buy to make. Now, how much can you make? I mean, she also referred to a governance or an orchestration that is needed. So there is this huge contradiction emerging in the market on what is available ready to buy and what can we make. Add to that the pace and disruptive shift of how soon this needs to be done. She said years, I said years have moved to months. She said that's not the case, weeks have moved to days. And days are moving to hours or minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, in a rapidly shrinking need for business to show that kind of agility, how will you draw a balance between buy and make? Is what SAP or SuccessFactors today, to your question on platform, our entire philosophy has evolved to a judicious orchestration of buy and make. So we are moving into an open, interoperable platform philosophy on how autonomy need to be provided to organizations in the way they engineer solutions for themselves. So I would be very happy for Raj to look at my platform when she is trying this make, because that may provide a more seamless continuity of the years for maturity to evolve. Because one of the biggest challenges we are encountering as people are toying with this make versus buy is they go and make things. And then after a couple of years, they come back to me and says, James, can you make all these talk together? Okay. So there is a certain standardization or a certain, even in AI, right? She referred to governance. How many organizations today have an AI governance team? That's one of the first questions I asked to a CHR or a CIO. You're coming to me and saying that you want to build 200 agents in all these processes and sub-processes. Who governs this? Do you have a team that governs this from a responsibility perspective on it being ethically grounded, to being the reliability of the data that you're actually churning into the tool, to the relevance of that from the business context perspective? If reliability, relevance and responsibility is not governed at the leadership level, there can be any number of agents or AI stuff that you can keep developing, but it will all break apart at some point in time potentially. And that is where players like SAP SuccessFactors, with the kind of system engineering understanding that we has, provides organizations with kind of a more structured enterprise and what I call a secure, scalable view to how to evolve, which stands the test of time. It's a very tricky thing. And the reality of human beings, chatbots, digital assistants, it's fairly disruptive out there, right? Today, I mean, you saw an announcement just yesterday, right? Where somebody has said, a person who I have worked for almost 2 decades, saying, I'm going to have as many agents, as many employees. Oh. The largest private employer in India has made that statement just yesterday, saying in the next 3 years, I will have more AI agents than employees in my company, right? And this is a company which has 600,000 employees today. To make that statement, to do it in 3 years, imagine the magnitude at which organizations are thinking, right? Yeah. Now, what does it take to execute on it? From a HR function perspective, 600,000 there could be, and every other day you see attrition announcements of organizations saying, I'm taking out 10%, 20,000 people, etc., etc. So 600,000 may evolve to 500,000, but 500,000 agents and 500,000 employees. Imagine what it means to a HR organization from a culture or an orchestration perspective to that organization, right? It's a very different dynamic. And in that, how will technology play as a platform is what players like SAP are deeply thinking. It's not that we have answers to all of that, but are we taking those steps in a very structured manner to change, right? So a lot of times, this is also a knowledge gap. What SAP or players like us stood for 5 years back is what possibly the market sees even today. To see us in today's light of where we will move the future in partnership is where organizations and leadership need to see players like SAP or SuccessFactors.
So we move to the rapid fire round now. One prediction about the future of work you're prepared to bet on.
Work will be with speed and will be interesting.
James,
Critical thinking.
the biggest myth about workforce transformation.
Biggest myth about workforce transformation is give them tools, it'll happen automatically. There is adoption, there is a lot of context, there's a lot of steer, there's a lot of change of mindset. It's not just the pure skill of doing things, it's the mindset shift.
James,
Execution will happen automatically. I think rubber meets the road is where things need to happen. So the biggest myth of any transformation is I take a decision, it will just flow through.
if AI took a part of your role tomorrow, which one would you happily give it?
Meetings, it will anyways go. And I have anyways given a diktat now from July onwards. I would not have on all those recurring meetings. But yeah, meetings.
Yeah, James?
Everything administrative and operational.
The HR skill that will matter the most by 2030.
I think what we'll retain is the empathy and imagination and working with human potential at a different scale. That will matter the most.
I'll have to go with Raj. I think also empathy. Maybe even digital tokens need empathy.
Yeah. So these were two sides, and wonderful having both of you here. Thank you so much for joining us at Top Guns. Thank you.
Thank you. Always.
And with that, we close today's Top Guns. The business moved because HR led the way. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.